Yeah, other two chairmen, Jope sir and Kellari sir.
Good evening to you all. This is Dr. Sanjay Zope, Chairman, Pune Local Center, Institution of Engineers, India, and I welcome our chief guest and today's speaker, Sri Raman Gangakhedkar.
Girish.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, this is Girish Kilari. I am chair IEEE Pune section, and I'm very happy that both the speakers, chief guest, as well as Gangakhedkar sir and Thakare sir, both of them are joining today for this program.
Yeah,
Welcome,
sir. Hivale sir.
Yeah, good evening. This is Anil Hivale, Chairman of IET Pune Local Network. Welcome Gangakhedkar sir and Thakare sir.
Bhalke sir, please.
Good evening all. I welcome Gangakhedkar sir and Thakare sir. This is Professor Bhalke, Member Institution of Engineers India. I am going to introduce Dr. Hemant Thakare sir. Thank you.
And Khurjekar sir.
I am Professor Khurjekar, member of IEEE and also chairman of Instrumentation and Measurement Society of IEEE, Pune. Welcome Dr. Gangakhedkar sir and welcome Thakare sir. Thank you.
Okay, so we are about to start the program. So I welcome you.
I will switch off my video.
And I request moderator to take over and start with the program. Dr. Amar, to please moderate
yes, sir.
and compare
You,
the program. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Myself, Dr. Amar Buchde. I'm office bearer of IEEE Pune section. Welcome to World Telecommunication Day and Information Society Day. In today's world, Vinit, can you please start recording?
Yes, sir. Recording already started.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So in today's world, the digital technologies play important role. So that we see during the pandemic situation. The theme of the WTISD is digital technologies for older persons and healthy aging. The program starts with welcome note by our convener, Dr. G.S. Mundada sir.
Good evening. I, Dr. Girish Mundada, convener of this program, welcome you all to the celebration of 54th World Telecommunication and Information Society Day. The theme of this day is digital technologies for older person and healthy aging. This event is a joint hosting of 4 professional societies.
Thank you, sir. So we welcome Chairman IEI, Dr. S.B. Zope, sir, to tell about IEI.
Amar, we have to play his video. Amar. Amar.
Please. Hello, sir.
We have to play his video. That was right. Okay.
Okay, should I share it?
Sir, play his video.
The video is seen as horizontal actually.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
Then
okay.
whatever. Okay.
Okay.
Go on.
Good evening to you all.
Ms. Khilari, IET Chairman Dr. Ravindra Khadkar, IET Chairman Dr. Anil Hivale, convener of this program Dr. Girish Mundada, Council Member and Chairman Electronics and Telecommunication Board.
Thank you, Dr. S.B. Zope, sir. Next, welcome Chairman IET, Dr. R.D. Khadkar, sir, to tell about IET.
Very good evening to all. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, sir.
Yeah. Very good evening to all dignitaries. Today's chief guest, Dr. Gangakhedkar, sir, who is the very eminent personality in the field of medical. During the COVID period, he has been guiding us and giving the realistic information, and all of us are very thankful to Dr. Gangakhedkar, sir, for guiding us during the COVID period. We have Dr. Hemant Thakare, sir, who is the president of IEI, which is one of the leading professional society. We welcome Hemant Thakare, sir, also. My colleagues, the chairmans of the local centers, IET, IEEE, IE, and IET, Dr. Mondada sir is also with us, who has taken the initiative for this program. It is our immense pleasure to celebrate this 54th World Telecommunication and Information Society Day, along with the three professional societies, IE, IEEE, and IET. IET is India's leading recognized professional society devoted to the advancement of the science and technology of electronics, telecommunication, information technology. IET is founded in 1953. IET has more than 1.5 lakh members, which are spread all over the India, also abroad. And we operate the ISFs in the engineering colleges. Pune Center is the one of the largest center in Western India, and we have more than 64 ISFs around the Pune Center, and we have 15 organizational members nearby the Pune Center, which are coming under the Pune Center's territory. Pune Center organizes the various programs, including the seminars, workshops, innovation competitions, then the quiz programs for the students, and we are thankful to the professionals for helping us. The theme given is very interesting, how the digital technology helps to make the life of the older persons comfortable. A very interesting theme and very relevant theme is given to us this year. All of us know the digital technology has the many applications for the senior citizens, which includes the entertainment, even diet planning, online communications, scheduling of the exercises, hearing disabilities, mental health, that is the digital puzzles are also there. Also networking can be done. And these are the very important applications of digital technologies, and we can explore these applications with the help of the medical professionals. We would like the take the guidance of the today's eminent personalities, so that we can take the innovations to the next level. And with this, I once again give the best wishes for the program, and I'm thankful to the three professional societies who joined this program. Thanks a lot, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. R D Khadkar, sir. Next is we welcome Chairman IEEE Pune section, Mr. Girish Khilari, sir, to tell about IEEE Pune section. Thank you, Girish sir. Next, we welcome Dr. Anil sir to tell about IET.
Dr. Amar, am I
Please,
audible?
sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Distinguished guests, panelists, different office bearers of professional organizations, and the attendees of this particular event. Good evening, one and all. On behalf of IET Pune Local Network, first I would like to welcome you all for this particular World Telecommunications and Information Society Day 2022 celebration, which is jointly hosted by these 4 professional organizations in Pune. I just would like to brief you in 2 minutes about the IET. The roots of the IET goes back well in 1871, 19th century, I mean, almost 150 years before. The Society of Telegraph Engineers was established in 1871, which was then renamed as Institution of Electrical Engineers in 1889. To this Institution of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, various other professional societies of different disciplines like Institution of Manufacturing Engineers, Institution of Production Engineers, Institution of Electronics and Radio Engineers. These organizations, they joined hands with IEEE, Institution of Electrical and Electrical Engineers, I mean. There was another very prominent professional organization like Institution of Incorporated Engineers. And then these 2 prominent engineering societies, IIE and IEEE, came together. They merged in year 2006, and that was named as the IET, the Institution of Engineering and Technology, in 2006. So though formally the name was like the IET in 2006, but actually it has a legacy from year 1871. And that's the reason IET celebrated from May 2021 to this month, May 2022. It's 150 years. The vision of the IET is to engineer a better world. And how do we do that is by inspiring, informing, and influencing global engineering and technology community. This is a global multidisciplinary organization having membership base of 170,000 members, which are spread across 150 countries. The main focus of the IET is upskilling the workforce and supporting technology innovation. And I think that is what is required to make the world better and better place to live. IET India has its sector focus areas as future technologies and future of mobility and transport. There are 9 local networks in South Asia, out of which 8 are in India, and IET Pune local network is one of them. The main sustainable development goals which IET is focusing on are sustainability and climate change, healthy lives, digital future, production, manufacturing, and like that. We as an IET would like to be the most relevant organization by supporting young professionals in academia and industry in particular, and the engineering and technology community in general. Right from the inception of IET Pune local network, we have good association with the prominent academic institutes in and around Pune, like College of Engineering Pune, MIT World Peace University, Walchand College of Engineering Sangli, PICT, VIT, Cummins, Modern College, and so on. We are collaborative and open for supporting activities for engineering and technology professionals, which are ultimately going to be useful for the society. Once again, I welcome you all for this particular World Telecommunications Day function. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Next is we welcome Professor Mandar Khurjekar, sir, to tell about ITUC. Thank you.
Namaskar. I am Professor Mandar Khurjekar. I'm going to say about the theme of the day. World Telecommunication and Information Society Day 2022. The theme is Digital Technologies for Older Persons and Healthy Aging. The aging of the global population will be the defining demographic trend of 21st century. Yet our societies struggle to see the opportunities that this trend can unfold. Telecommunications and information communication technologies, that is ICTs, have a role to play in achieving healthier aging, but also in helping the people build smarter cities, combat age-based discrimination at the workplace, ensure financial inclusion of older persons, and support millions of caregivers across the world. This year's theme raises awareness of the important role of telecommunications, that is ICTs, in supporting people to stay healthy, connected, and independent physically, emotionally, and financially. Supporting a life of healthy aging is also critical for the sustainability of economic and health systems. The International Telecommunication Union, ITU, hopes to foster initiatives to accelerate digital technologies for older persons and healthy aging that will contribute towards UN Decade of Healthy Aging, which United Nations has declared. Thank you. Amar,
Thank you,
take over.
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So we request Dr. DJ Bhalke, sir, to introduce our chief guest.
Thank you, sir. I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening and warm welcome to one and all present here. I, Dr. D.G. Bhalke, very much honored and fortunate to introduce diversified, marvelous and dynamic personality, Dr. Hemant Thakare ji, who is chief guest for celebration of 54th World Telecommunication and Information Society Day. The theme of the celebration is Digital Technologies for Older Persons and Healthy Aging. This event is jointly organized by the IEI, PLC, IEEE Pune section, IIT Pune Center and the IIT Pune Center. Dr. Hemant Thakare is presently working as the president of the Institution of Engineers India. He is doctorate in civil engineering and having more than 35 plus years of experience in the field of education, industry, research and administration. Speaking about association and the contribution of Dr. Hemant Thakare sir in the IEI, he has been actively associated with the Institution of Engineers India since 35 plus years. He was honorary secretary of Nagpur PLC for 2 terms, post chairman of Nagpur PLC and the Maharashtra State Center. He was governing council member of Indian Concrete Institute for 1999 to 2001 and council member from Civil Engineering Division of the Institution of Engineers India for 4 terms. He is the youngest council member of the Institution of Engineers India at the age of 34 years. Youngest vice president of the Institution of Engineers India at the age of 43 years and the youngest chairman of the Maharashtra State Center. Sir is dedicated soldier at the Institution of Engineers India since last 35 plus years, having a long distinguished inning at the IEI. With selfless service and the total devotion, he has served with an unblemished record of representing almost all the bodies of the IEI, such as member IASC, EESC, EQC, JMC, FC, SPC, NDRF, etc. He also has served as a chairman, EQC, CVBD, for many terms and many more posts he has handled in the IEI. Because of his dedication, hard work, passionate to work and social contribution, he has reached to the topmost position in the Institution of Engineers India at the national level, that is the president of the Institution of Engineers India. Dr. Hemant Thakare is a multi-talented personality. That's why he has put his footprint not only in the Institution of Engineers India, but also in various multidisciplinary sectors. To focus some of the sectors are he is actively associated with the various social, educational, sports and the cultural organization in and around Nagpur. He was president of the Amateur Boxing Association of Nagpur district. He has the distinction of being the youngest, the executive council member of Nagpur University at the age of 27 years. Youngest chairman, Board of Physical Education and Recreation, Nagpur University at the age of 30. Youngest dean, Faculty of Engineering and Technology, Nagpur University at the age of 32. He is on governing body of many technical institutions. He is also founder director of Tirupati Urban Cooperative Bank, Nagpur, which is the leading cooperative bank in the Nagpur. He is also a member of many professional bodies such as Indian Water Works Association, Indian Geotechnical Society, Indian Society of Earthquake, and Indian Hydraulic Society. He is also part of many international delegations at Singapore, USA, etc. During his tenure at Nagpur, Pune Local Center, Maharashtra State Center, Dr. Hemant was instrumental in undertaking massive infrastructural development projects which are testimony till date and showcase his leadership skills and the vision for the future. His skills, exposure, networking, deep understanding, and total commitment shall be the most desired credential to lead the institution of engineers at the highest level. Dear sir, we salute to your commitment and the hard work. We are very fortunate to have chief guest for the today's celebration of the World Telecommunication and the Information Society Day. Let us welcome Dr. Hemant Thakare ji, the President of the Institution of Engineers India, with a big round of applause. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Next, I request Professor Arun Jamkar, sir, Vice Chair IEEE EMBS, that is Engineering in Medicine and Biology Society, to give the introduction of Honorable Padma Shri Dr. Raman Gangakhedkar, sir. Please, sir. I think, please unmute.
You're on mute.
Request to Gangakhedkar, sir. His video can be switched on. I'm audible?
Yes, sir. Now,
Okay.
Please continue.
I'm extremely happy that I have got this opportunity to introduce one of the celebrities in the field of medicine on World Telecommunication Day and Information Society Day. I think except Dr. Raman and me, everybody is an engineer, and there's a galaxy of intellectual of engineers across the maybe highest concentration in India. So Dr. Mundada, Dr. Zope, Dr. Khadkar, Dr. Khilari, Dr. Hiwale, Dr. Mr. Krujekar, Dr. Bhalke, and obviously the theme speaker, Dr. Raman Gangakhedkar, and the chief guest, Hemant Thakare. So I think I'm extremely happy to be here, that because all engineers are talking about telecommunication, and they are talking about improving the quality of life. And if you see the quality of life, the most important thing that we have is health. And then I think quality of life could be improved by telecommunication, telehealth, and there are a lot many new things coming in digital technologies which can take care of elderly persons. And if you see the population pyramid of India, we have more and more people coming aged. So I think if you see the say what you call it as digital technologies, all these technologies, they only have capacity to give better health. So at this pretext, I think there is nobody other than Dr. Raman Gangakhedkar to talk on digital technologies, how they can do in case of elderly people. Dr. Gangakhedkar, I hope everybody knows he's a celebrity. He's at present working as a CJ Pandit National Chair of Indian Council of Medical Research. I think we have heard of him a lot because of COVID-19 pandemic, but basically he has been working in the field of HIV for over 3 decades. He is expert in HIV medicine as well as associated infectious diseases as an epidemiologist and public health. I think he is one of the most talented epidemiologists India has created. He was one of the key players in advocacy since 1989, has been involved in policy making at national level to the antiretroviral therapy, management of opportunistic infection, prevention of mother-to-child transmission, etc., etc. And first time I came into contact with him as a principal investigator of a JHU-BJ project on same project. His paper entitled "Married Monogamous" opened a new era in the spread of infection of HIV. He is the chairman of Technical Resource Group of Non-Public-Private Partnership, expert group of early infant diagnosis guidelines considered by NACO. He is member of TRG on antiretroviral therapy, pediatric ART,
Surveillance and Epidemiology, Constitution of National AIDS Control Program. He is popular and astute HIV physician. He has been member of many prestigious international committees of different facets of HIV disease, including ACTG, WHO, UNICEF, UNFPA, NAIDS. His efforts to empower and socially challenged population, enhancing their treatment literacy, are widely appreciated, and has published 2,220 papers in various international journals. He, as a head of ECD, he managed research and contributed to the health response to the recent outbreak of Nipah, Zika, and COVID. He is member of the National Task Force of COVID-19, also a member of Clinical Research Group and Epidemiology and Operation Research Group on COVID-19. I think has been his work on COVID-19 has got a lot of attention, and he's a member of WHO Scientific Advisory Group on the origin of novel pathogens. And I think under that, he might be even investigating the source of COVID-19, whether it has just leaked from Wuhan lab. He's member of Lancet Commission on COVID-19. In short, he's our academic face for scientific delegation with world. He can be given credit of playing an important role in controlling COVID-19 pandemic in India. I think that's how he made India proud, and I think we are proud of him. Although we work in different domains, our roots are same. Both are from Marathwada and passed from the same government medical college, Aurangabad. I did my PhD from National Institute of Virology in NK cell interferon activity, which is a tumor immunology project, where he was briefly associated, but he worked with our sister institute, National on AIDS, National AIDS Research Institute. He is recipient of following awards: late Shankar Rao Chauhan Gaurav Puraskar, Lifetime Achiever Award by the AIDS Society of India for his work in AIDS, Swami Ramanand Tirth Marathwada Gaurav Puraskar 2021, Lifetime Achievement Award by Army Institute of Technology, Pune, Karmayogini Vijaya Said Lavate Award, Stock Exchange Award. I think that's most important. Then Merit Award for HIV Congress, because this is a World Congress where his work in HIV has been recognized. He was awarded by honorary delegate by Datta Mekhe Institute of Medical Sciences, and to cap to the eyes, he has been awarded at Padma Shri in 2021. I think he is one of the biggest celebrity, most intellectual guy in the field of COVID epidemiology, viral epidemiology, and I think I'm extremely happy that I know him in very detail. And to the audience, I present Dr. Raman Gangakhedkar. Thank you.
It's great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So we have great opportunity to listen the talks by dignitaries. So initially, we request Chief Guest Dr. Hemant Thakare, sir, President IEEE, to address the audience. Thank you.
Sir, you are not audible. Thakare, sir.
Sir, can you please make unmute? Please unmute yourself.
Thakare, sir. You have to unmute. Your microphone is off.
Can Amar
Unmute.
help,
Yes,
help him?
please unmute yourself, sir.
Amar, sir. He is unable to unmute himself. So you have to unmute him.
Wait.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You are audible now.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. You are very much audible.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Today's keynote speaker and towering personality, Honorable Padma Shri Dr. Raman R Gangakhedkar ji, Dr. C.G. Pandit, National Chair, Indian Council of Medical Research, Dr. Ravindra Karadkar, Chairman IIT, Engineer Girish Khilari, Chairman IEEE Pune Section, Dr. Anil Hilwale, Chairman IIT Pune Local Network, Dr. Sanjay Dhope, Chairman IIT Pune Local Center, Dr. Girish Mundada, Convener and Council Member of IEI, Dr. Virendra Shetty, Secretary IIT Pune Center, Dr. Neha Sharma, Secretary IEEE Pune Section, Dr. Deepak Shirsagar, Secretary IIT Pune Local Network, Master of Ceremony, Dr. Amar Buchade. A very good evening to all. Dignitaries present on the occasion, participants, and my fellow council members. It is a great pleasure for me to be present on the occasion of joint hosting of this function by IIT Pune Local Center, IEEE Pune Section, IIT Pune Center, and IIT Pune Local Network for celebration of World Telecommunication and Information Society Day 2022. This endeavor of Pune Local Center, IIT, to commemorate this day through joint celebration is commendable, as all the four entities are working towards betterment of society and they have common goal and objectives. It's a matter of pride for me to be present on behalf of the Institution of Engineers India, the largest multidisciplinary professional body for engineers. World Telecommunication and Information Society Day has been celebrated annually every 17th of May since 1969 to mark the founding of ITU and the signing of first International Telegraph Convention in 1865. The telecommunications and information communication technology, that is ICTs, have a role to play not only in achieving healthier aging, but also in helping people build smarter cities, combat age-based discrimination at the workplace, ensure financial inclusion of older persons, and support millions of caregivers across the world. The internet can be a vital way of maintaining civic participation and even receiving basic citizen services in the near future, but rising generation of individuals who did not grow up with technology and who are not in a position to easily acquire new technical skills will be at a considerable disadvantage as the world moves online. As aging populations are anticipated to be a major factor in the economic and social development in the near future, it is important that society remains aware of senior connectivity, both as a means of preventing social isolation as well as increasing and prolonging productivity among this segment of the population. Indeed, encouraging digital inclusion is not only a social concern, but it is also be profitable. On average, people around the world are living longer. As we are living longer, our world is becoming increasingly digital. Information and communication technology, that is ICTs, can enable healthy and active aging by facilitating access to information, health and healthcare, socio-economic participation, and other factors that promote full engagement and participation as we age. Although many older adults are frequent users of information and communication technology, many still lack access, and the pace of digital innovation is yet to be inclusive of their needs. COVID-19 accelerated this challenge as digital services, including telehealth and banking, became increasingly the norm. Shopping, medical consultations, requesting municipal services, and many everyday activities have become more complicated for those who are less familiar with the digital technology. This is an impediment for participation by many older persons. As services increasingly go digital, older people risk missing out. The challenges that are faced by the older people to adapt to the rapid change of the digital technology and preventing them from enjoying the full benefit of digital transformation are to be analyzed. Also, it must be noted that the adoption rates vary by age, ethnicity, education, computer literacy, cognitive capacity, and income. Additionally, measures for emerging new risks of misinformation, cybercrime, safety, and privacy issues need to be developed to create a more inclusive digital future for all. Japan is one of the most rapid aging economies in the world, and they are beginning to see the value of tailoring products specifically to the needs of the senior segment. Gerotechnology is the buzzword, which is defined as an interdisciplinary field linking existing and developing technologies to the aspirations and needs of aging and aging adults. Gero technologies and other digital health solutions can assist older people in the completion of cognitive and physical tasks such as activities of daily living. It is often referred to as an intelligent assistive technology, and it is of particular value in the assistance and support of older people with dementia or other age-related cognitive disability. Other digital health technologies do not provide any specific assistive function, but can generate the necessary information to implement assistive functions. These include digital tools for self-monitoring, activity tracking, or other applications aimed at measuring psychological, cognitive, and fitness-related metrics such as heartbeat, calorie consumption, daily steps, reaction time at cognitive tests, etc. I thank Pune Local Center of IA and all the participant institutes for organizing the function on the occasion of World Telecommunication and Information Society Day 2022, which of course will ignite the consciousness among all that we must work to achieve connectivity for all, not just the young. I don't want to prolong my speech further, as I know all, including myself, are eagerly waiting to listen to our eminent speaker, Padma Shri Dr. Raman R Gangakhedkar ji. I wish a grand success for this function. Thank you. Thank you all, sirs.
Thank you, Dr. Hemant Thakare, sir, telling about significance and challenges of digital technologies. The next, we request Padma Shri Dr. Raman Gangakhedkar, Dr. C.G. Pandit, National Chair, ICMR, to address the participants about theme speech. Thank you, sir. Please.
Sir, can you allow me to share the content?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Even chat is to be opened, sir, for any questions.
Yes. Share option visible to sir?
No, it is visible as in program, but it's not allowing me because you will have to make me host.
Yes, sir. Yes. Vineet, can you please make the sir host?
Yes, sir.
आणि मला होस्ट बनवावं लागेल ते तुमचंच होस्ट म्हणून येतं.
Yes, sir. एक minute.
In case of restriction, you can remove any one of us, myself and Dr. Bhalke.
Oh, sir, you are now host.
Yeah. एकच सेकंड. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
There is no bandwidth issue, no?
There is no issue. You can continue.
We request all others to switch off their videos. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm grateful to all of you, Dr. Thakare, all the stakeholders of all four institutions that are trying to make difference in people's lives through technology. I'm also grateful to my senior, Dr. Jamkar, for his kind words that he spoke about me. I'll try my best to speak on a difficult issue because for us, we are at the other end. We can talk about what should be done. Perhaps when it comes to technologies, you are the people who can devise different things and try and help us out. I must also admit that the only times when I came closer to working on older persons was when I was heading National AIDS Research Institute, where we were the technology partners for biological samples and suggesting what biomarkers should be studied in a study which is called as LASI. It's one of those longitudinal studies that is being done on older people as such. this is done by IIPS in India. Now, the second time that I came close to digital technologies was when I was in Delhi, and I was trying to push for digital technology solutions in TB, especially in TB, because there is a larger goal of elimination of tuberculosis by 2025. And then subsequently, I also I had an opportunity to interact with ITU people, where ICMR was asked to be technical partner for India, and the telecom department involved us in variety of issues. Unfortunately, after my retirement, I do not know how far we have progressed. The last thing that I would start before I begin my talk on digital technologies for older persons and healthy aging. I thought first, no, I didn't read the invite really well, and I thought this must be another COVID talk. So I was little relaxed, but 2 days back when I received your link for a technical session, no, to understand whether we can work well with the WebEx technology. Suddenly, when I looked at the title, I said this is about China. I made some final last efforts in last 2 days, and you may have to excuse me for the same if there are any sort of lacunae. Now, when it comes to aging population, if you look at the global scenario, you will suddenly find that the population, which was only about 12% in 2015 of 60 years plus age group, is likely to increase almost double by 2050. By 2020 itself, the number of people who have aged beyond 60 are likely to have outnumbered under 5 children. The real figures are currently not known because of the COVID pandemic. Perhaps we could have understood that whether we have achieved this landmark step also. Over 80% of the older population will live in low and middle income countries, which is contrary to our thinking that perhaps this is an issue of high income countries per se. The pace of population of aging is much faster than what it was in the past. Now, what is aging? Aging is a phenomena, as we grow, one of the things which we have to understand is we lose on repair and resilience when it comes to a process per se. And you will find that the damage and injury that tends to occur will not be repaired well. And that's why we generally tend to age. Age, if you actually look at one of the data points, you will find age is the strongest risk factor for chronic diseases. And when you say chronic diseases, it is heart diseases, cancer, stroke, the COPD, pneumonitis, diabetes, and then kidney diseases and Alzheimer's. Now, largely, if you look at it, these are certain factors which are also influenced by genetics and environment. But people are trying to make an effort towards a major goal that by 2050 we should be coming close to something which would lead to end of life being decided by a human being. That's a larger goal, and the scientists across are trying to move in that particular direction. If you look at the rate of doubling of 60 plus population by countries, you will suddenly find that it is far sharper than sharper among underdeveloped countries and highly populous countries compared to what was seen in other developed countries so far, which essentially means India is also equally threatened with this particular issue at this point in time. LASI's first report of 2017-18, the second wave of LASI, has recently been brought into public domain. If you look at the story of elders, you will suddenly find that 55% of these elders, 60 plus population, is likely to be widows. Older women continue to be most vulnerable. Elderly with poverty is a major risk of aging in developing countries. You have also got to understand currently we are at a stage, infancy stage, in looking at this elderly population, because largely the program is under statistics division in the ministry, with Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and ICMR as partners, perhaps you will find that the movement will become stronger in near future as such. If you look at the current perception of current health status by presence and absence of chronic morbidity, you will find that if you look at both the graphs around 2017 and 18, you find that it's almost becoming similar. People don't perceive that elderly, if you ask them, they perceive that they have poor perception about themselves when they become old. Whether it is urban, whether it is rural, it is increasing at a rapid pace, and we need to worry about it. Now, considering all these issues, UNGA has a vision of adding good health years to life by 2030. And what are the basic tenets that they are looking at to promote healthy aging, improve the lives of older people and communities? It proposes age-friendly environments, and when it comes to age-friendly environment, among all other interventions that they are looking at, they are also looking at technology that necessitates individual to age healthy. Combating ageism is one which we will see subsequently, is to get rid of stereotyping and prejudices and discrimination that tends to occur among elderly, and integrated care. Here also you will suddenly find that assistive technology for better living is also one of the components for this particular goal that they want to achieve. When it comes to healthy aging, as we grow, perhaps we tend to rely on certain things for our own survival or skills building. When it comes to childhood, you would have feeding, language, activity, adequate nutrition. But as we grow older, you find frailty becomes an important issue. Functional support that you may require to survive, and the terminal end of life care that has to be provided to individual before they finally die. Lifespan is not to be measured only by chronological age, but it should also be measured by health span. And what is a health span? This is a new indicator which WHO developed. Here, that is health life expectancy, is the average number of years a person is expected to live in good health by taking the number of years lived in less than full health due to disease or severe injury. Where are we in India? Hale in India is about 60.3 years, which essentially means an average citizen spends 10 years with living with serious and debilitating ailments per se. What do we essentially want to do? If you want to think in terms of the concept in itself, if you look at the first bar, it tends to talk about healthy typical life. But at the same time, when it comes to getting older, you find the issues tend to come, people tend to become sicker. But the 20-year goal that is being laid down as of now wants to ensure that we extend these healthy years to this individual and reduce the dependent life that they may have and sicknesses or morbidity that they may face. If we are successful in the same, what is most important to understand is there are also economic benefits. Slowdown in aging increases life expectancy by 1 year is worth, even if you add 1 year, it is worth US dollar 38 trillion. And by 10 years, you would find that this would increase immensely to $367 trillion, because even old people who may constitute a fifth of the population will become more productive, and therefore handling aging and their expenses that are associated, health expenses associated because of chronic morbidity and the diseases that they may suffer will also be reduced. So essentially, this is an important area for all of us to start working strongly in this particular field. Now, what are the critical elements of successful aging? We need to avoid serious and debilitating diseases and disability, engage independently in normal activities of daily living, maintain cognitive functions, be able to cope with the physical, social, and emotional changes, and one needs to harbor a sense of control on their own lives themselves. What is desirable in healthy aging? We need to maintain a desirable weight. We should have optimal nutrition, regular exercise, regular health checkup, and avoid toxic exposures. Now, if we do this, perhaps the things would be in favor of healthy aging. Of the approaches that we have to think about. If you look at one of the brown lines that you see, if we want to make a difference, we may have to target aging, and if we change that part, you will suddenly find the incidence of chronic diseases and disability tend to come down, and therefore we need to work hard towards this. Now, how can we bring down this particular incidence? I will not go into the details, but there are certain factors over certain processes over which we need to work, like genomic instability, telomere attrition, epigenetic factors, nutrition sensing, proteostasis, mitochondrial function, cellular senescence, and other issues that may be important from biological point of view. Now, one of the things which people are working on is how can we delay aging per se, and these concepts became stronger because of HIV. In HIV, premature aging became a very important issue, and people started working on variety of medicines that you can actually use to reduce the speed at which a person would go for aging. And there are certain drugs that we tend to use among these people. We'll come to one of those drugs subsequently. One is aspirin. Rapamycin is something which we don't use in HIV, and there are certain other molecules which you find are likely to reduce the speed at which we tend to age. One of the best drugs that we use in HIV infection is metformin. Metformin was found to increase the lifespan as well as health span in an animal experiment in mice. Now, this was considered as a very important issue, and people started looking at some of the trials have been done in HIV. We will not go into those details because today it's not a biology related talk, but it has immense health span benefits. It preserves body weight and the composition of body weight. There is a shift in energy homeostasis, increased use of lipid, reduction in cataract development, improved general fitness. You find that it lowers HbA1c, insulin, and HOMA-IR also, and total cholesterol. And these become extremely important. And one of this we tended to discover because we use this particular drug in patients who develop lipodystrophy and found different dramatic effects that this particular drug tends to have. When it comes to aging, when we age, we tend to acquire different diseases that are associated with aging. They range right from smaller issues like arthritis, which appear smaller but can affect our quality of life, COPD, cardiovascular diseases, stroke, CNS, diabetes, dementia, CKD, that is kidney disease, Alzheimer's, hearing, asthma, and osteoporosis. All these tend to become important. So we have to work on them firstly to prevent occurrence of these infections. And when it comes to technology, right, assist all those who develop these diseases in a manner to improve their quality of life. Now, there are multiple physiological determinants in aging which are important for all of us to recognize, because when you develop a digital tool, one also needs to understand the basic biologic processes that are actually leading to development of aging and try to incorporate that in the digital technology as such. Though the use of assistive technology may be required at any stage of life. Now, if you look at, because all of us know disability can occur due to certain disease conditions in early life, whether it is in adult life, but it is more likely to be common when it comes to the older age groups as such. And when it comes to older age group, one of the major challenges with people who have disability would be to try and regain the function in individuals, so the person doesn't become dependent, and this can be done by assistive devices amplification. Now, when it comes to digital health, all of us know there is mobile health, there could be wearable devices, they could do a host of things. They could track personal health metrics, We could use smart watches, fall detectors. We could use wearable pain relief technology using certain medications as well. Continuous glucose monitoring devices, health information technology, smart monitoring of diseases, and telehealth, personalized medicine, and use of AI for early diagnosis by way of utilizing this artificial intelligence to find out which are the early biomarkers which tend to tell you whether the person is likely to have is likely to be leading to not so healthy aging. To give you a simple example, the example could be just CRP. When we use CRP as a biomarker in somebody who is of middle age, if we find it raised, it tends to communicate to you that there is something which is there in the individual which needs correction so that you can delay aging, delay the speed of aging that is occurring there. But when it comes to these assistive technologies, one of the things which we have to understand, even in countries that are developed, you find only 12% of the seniors own a wearable device, which is not a very good thing to think about. Which also means that we may have to popularize the use of these gadgets per se. One can use wearable technologies for multiple physiologic measurements. No, you could be using it for EEGs, you could be using it for muscular movements, the ECG, looking at the temperature, whether it is blood glucose level, blood oxygen pulse ox, which we have seen so much in COVID, EMG signals, the motion, if I want to measure, and write wrist pulse and blood pressure and plantar pressures. Now, these can actually help you to try and improve the quality of life that they are likely to lead to. But on the right side, if you actually look at, I read this for the first time. When I tried to see as to how these technologies are developed, you suddenly find from our own perspective that the phases are more phases towards engineering technology. But if it comes to engineering technology, the base that you need to have about biological measurement or otherwise epidemiologic measurements continues to remain continues to be given low priority. And this was one thing which I noticed even in ICMR when we were trying to ensure that AI technology is introduced into different program conditions. They have good concepts, but validation of those concepts is something which is lacking. And therefore, even if they are passionate individuals who can make a difference, they are unable to push their technology strongly, even in India, because they cannot validate their technology well, and they cannot showcase the effects that perhaps one would like to see otherwise. When it comes to technologies, it's not only mobiles, cameras or iPads, but you can use different things that we tend to use. It could be glasses, mouth guard, clothing, watch. It could be a strip, it could be a shoe, belt, or a headset. Now, these are also places where we can develop technology and ensure that it can assist an individual well. All of us know innovations are also driven by the market size and the profits that may emerge from the same. If you look at wearable market devices by region and the estimated market size, you suddenly realize that there is a huge market that is available for wearable medical devices, which is getting accentuated as we are seeing as of now. And this is likely to also increase in Asia Pacific region. So it's not only the local ones, but if you look at the larger thing perspective, you will find that global market is also huge at this time point. When it comes to remote monitoring devices, because there would be people who may be staying alone and they need to be monitored routinely by using certain remote monitoring devices. These devices could be insulin pumps, they could be portable GPS devices, the pulse ox that we look at, the personal EEG, BP monitor, glucose monitor, smart pill dispenser. You will find even here, the market size is increasing dramatically. Now it is time, as Atmanirbhar Bharat, we need to really think hard. How can we make a difference, not only in people's lives in India, providing low-cost devices, but also across the globe by providing these tools and ensuring that whatever difference you wanted to make can be made through low-cost devices. When it comes to the devices, there could be another approach, that is assistive robotics. There is only one large major project that is going on in European Union, which is called as Enrich Me, and they have developed robots. The two different robots have been developed. One is called as Tiago, and the other one is Mia, where they can perform all kinds of functions that you could imagine if the person is completely dependent. We need such kind of projects also to be done in India. When it comes to, there would be people who may be staying alone. Now, if they are staying alone, one approach could be you could establish an autonomous surveillance system wherein you don't require somebody to be staying with that individual. This is something which could be done very well. One of the models which have been depicted, I tend to tell you that we could continue to monitor these people really well using UAS system. As we looked at different factors, different diseases that tend to emerge with aging, one of the things which we realized that we also focused a little bit on different processes which it affects within the body, which could be physiological or pathological processes. And when we think about it, one issue that tends to emerge is if you want to improve the lifespan, we must also think in terms of detecting before the morbidity strikes or becomes evident for people. Now, how can that be done? We may have to use artificial intelligence, looking at different proteomics markers. It could be genome, it could be transcriptome, methylome, or imaging related issues, which can actually try and tell you that the person is likely to develop a different kind of an X kind of a morbidity. Now, this is also a digital tool which we also need to develop and enter into this area, because so far this is a purely underdeveloped area even in India at this point in time. But when you use these digital technologies, there are certain ethical issues that we need to be cognizant about, and these are like privacy. You're likely to breach the privacy. Some people may not like that their privacy is breached, though they also understand that it is helping, this technology is helping them to overcome the problems or daily chores that they have to attend to. Confidentiality is more likely to be breached in remote monitoring activities, because essentially the data is likely to go somewhere else. Now, one of the ethical issues that we need to tease out, are they partners or are they likely to be considered as healthcare workers for shared confidentiality reasons? But still, there is a lot of gray area on this particular issue. We may feel that some of them may feel they are dehumanized objects, because there is no human touch. They are being treated as objects who need to survive. Now, because most often, you find, even if it is a teleconsultation, you find most of the patients like to see you in person, right? Have your doctor touching, their pulse and taking their pulse, only because, it makes them feel that they are humanized. But this part is also an important issue to understand, but it is also preventable if we educate people right since their childhood that there is no such thing as dehumanize. The society is evolving. When it comes to risk of stigmatization, there is always a fear, because nobody would like to come to you because they feel even they will be part of this vigilance, which is likely to be occurring. The fear could be that there could be a security issue. If there is a hacking, now who will be responsible for that particular issue? How that can be stopped? How do we make people accountable for what they are, wherever there are lapses? Also, additionally, if you actually look at it, there are standards of quality. These are important issue. because there will be different people who will develop different gadgets. But do we know that which among them is truly a standard quality that you would recommend to others? We don't have the processes laid down well, especially in India, and people can make any kind of claim and they could get away with that. Now, this is something which becomes extremely important. Now, whose responsibility? If suppose something goes wrong when you are using such a digital technology, it gives you some wrong kind of either diagnosis or perhaps also a recommendation that it was expected to give would be different, and the changes that were required they're not made if we use this digital technology. Whose responsibility is it? Generally we tend to be held when I'm saying we, it is doctors. Doctors are held responsible if something goes wrong. But when it is technology that fails, whether it is due to the fault of the machine, fault of the algorithm, or it could also be that even there was an electricity failure. Now, what do I do in those circumstances is still unclear. So these issues will have to be settled well. Now, when it comes to aging, there is a term which is called as ageism that tends to come into the picture. This ageism, WHO defines this ageism as a stereotyping, prejudice, or discrimination directed towards the people on the basis of their age. Now, if you actually see, as the society is developing, as we are trying to fight for our own survival, you suddenly find we tend to develop ageist attitude. Those who are younger, they tend to dehumanize people to a tune that if you take a photograph, you would say that this person, this child is best before 7/11/2067. Now, this actually is connoting the way we are using our emotions, the way we are thinking, because this is not a commodity that we are trying to buy. You need interventions to improve this particular attitude that we are likely to develop, that somebody is old, तो काय म्हातारडा है, कोई बुढ़ाऊ है. Those kinds of things have to go. But if we want to do it on a sustained long-term basis, we need to intervene at each stage of life. There is a need to influence this particular attitude using social media and foster an enabling environment for people to have dignity in place when they are older. And some of the issues that tend to come in aging, these are the attitudes and challenges that influence aging. Most often, if you actually look at people, they say, I'm too old to learn use of a smartphone, which is a very common thing. Can we improve that? Yes, we can. We'll try and see of some of those solutions. Now, some of us, if we are not older, we might say that older people don't want to use new technology. Now, this essentially is a judgmental kind of an approach. Older people are not able to use modern technologies. Perhaps not. If we teach them well, they can also do it. And these factors foster ageism very strongly. Now, most of us as Indians, we tend to feel that we may not be having ageist attitude, whereby we give respect to our elderly. But is that the reality? Perhaps not. It is also a fact. We need to think about the way our country is being projected, where there is a high prevalence of ageist attitude among all other countries. We need to think, even in our language, when we tend to use terms which are more likely to be called as verbal assaults on people who are older. As they grow older, you will find you may use even the chance that the person is unable to hear, and you may hear the language, the content, and you realize that this may not be an incorrect documentation of this prevalence, but we need to work on these issues, whether we like it or whether it is not, because the goal post is far away for us. When it comes to COVID, COVID actually brought in variety of issues related to older age group, because we know COVID was more dangerous among those who were older. And one of the things that was advocated then was to isolate people or shield them from getting exposed to this particular virus. If you look at those who had comorbidities, multiple comorbidities, and those who did not have, and compare them in pre-COVID era versus the COVID era, you suddenly find that in COVID era, depression and loneliness increased dramatically, even in the early phases of this pandemic. When it comes to isolation among elderly with multimorbidity, in the very information that people who have chronic morbidity can perhaps be worse affected. There was a fear of death, and that used to prevail up in their minds. And naturally, what would happen? Those who had multimorbidity, they were socially isolated. You essentially found that the multimorbidity people were far more affected compared to those who did not have multimorbidity per se. What kind of impact did it produce? It led to less physical activity than usual. They tended to watch more TV. They were sitting more often than usual. And some of the addictions tended to increase, excepting the alcohol one for multimorbidity, perhaps a reflection of their understanding that should not consume more alcohol. But it also affected their sleep quality, and also they started eating less than usual when it comes to people with multimorbidity. Now, if you look at isolation of elderly, perhaps we as a phenomenon, most of us will feel that we should do it because we want to save their lives during COVID. But what could be the reality? In the ELSA study, they found that 70% of them continued to stay at home when it comes to isolation and or shielding, with 5% shielding through 9 months of onset of pandemic. The prior characteristics of low social interactions may perhaps explain why they were unhappy. But even if you were to control during analysis with all the covariates of interest, you would find that those who were isolated or shielded throughout had more than 1.87 times enhanced symptoms of depression and lower quality of life. There was increased anxiety level due to fear of catching this particular infection. And also we added fuel to it by saying vaccines do not protect, which is a reality. But when we message that, the impact on the older population was worse. They were further isolated and their anxiety levels increased when we said vaccines do not protect the newer infection, and that's something was a little difficult thing for them to digest, which leads to more of depression and low quality of life. When it comes to ageism and COVID-19, there are certain things which are far more important for us to understand. There were more deaths that were occurring among older age population. And what was worse, which was also seen in India, which was also seen in developed countries like US, we tended to, as healthcare professionals, we tended to decide when the numbers started increasing, who should be put on ventilators. Should it be one who's older age group person or somebody who's younger? And that's something is a part of the ageist attitude that we tend to have. Age was used also as a cutoff for strict isolation, institutionalization, and restriction to move out. Now, all of us need to understand age cannot be used as a cutoff. Not all have multiple morbidities. What is important is when we try to adopt these kinds of measures, it adds to social isolation, loneliness, and impacts the self-care behaviors because their self-esteem also goes down. Portraying it, in COVID-19, we portrayed older persons as one who are more vulnerable, but it also has a flip side. The younger ones felt they're not vulnerable, so they can do anything. It also adds or contributes to the impact of COVID pandemic overall. Now, if we look at our digital past in health, in health, whatever I have seen, this is mostly used in RCH programming. It has also telemedicine as a component. we were using AEFI surveillance in immunization, that is adverse events that tend to occur after immunization. When it came to COVID-19, every test, the first effort that we made, which was more towards digital technology being used, was every test that was conducted in India was reported to ICMR digitally. And not only that, there used to be a proforma which was filled and then the data was recorded. Unfortunately, it did not go further in terms of analysis, because you can imagine when you do 50 odd crore tests, 100 crore tests, the big data analytics tends to become as difficult. NCDC used to record data on outcomes after testing positive. It was also done digitally. Virtual training of ICU physicians was taken by AIMS. Troubleshooting in management of patients, telemedicine, especially to provide care to elderly, because we wanted to ensure that these people don't need to come to the hospitals and expose themselves. That was also used. If you look at CoWIN app, one of the largely lauded effort from India, you find vaccine administration was recorded digitally as well as AEFI. The Spo2 devices, one of the first industries response for devices that came out was Spo2 devices. When it came to Spo2 devices, unfortunately, the issue of quality tended to come up. It made Spo2 devices more acceptable for the community, but its quality was something which nobody at that part of the pandemic could actually decide and say what should go and what should not go. That's something which we have to realize. I also know ventilators were not available in India. They were not manufactured in large quantity. All ventilators were across the world were being purchased right and left with the power of money that developed countries had. We had to make an effort to produce ventilators ourselves. Unfortunately, there also we faced an issue related to quality. When it comes to AI tools, there are some people who made efforts to diagnose COVID using cuff, the cuff-related physiological dynamics and try and sound dynamics, and then try to predict. But the fact that the pandemic did not last long, perhaps they could not go forward and be used. But these which were in development for tuberculosis or pneumonitis, the COVID was also added. Hopefully that they will become a part of this particular tool in near future. Establishment and capacity building for diagnostic laboratories was also done virtually. Additionally, there were some stray efforts that were also implemented by people. Robots were used to attend nursing needs in the hospital, especially in Bangalore. Allowing video calling for family was for the patients who were admitted in the hospital was also done. But this could not be sustained over a period of time as the numbers started increasing. Holding ethics committee meetings for research was also done virtually, which was otherwise an unknown phenomenon. We had to even change the ethical guidelines that were existent for emergency situations like this. What were the limitations? There were difficulties in sustaining them, especially as the pandemic evolved. Utilization, though we made all efforts to try to move in a direction to improve health, we don't know how was the utilization, and there is a big digital divide, the urban and rural, educated and uneducated. That cannot be overcome. We need to make efforts now to try and make that difference. The best document so far, if I was to think, was the number of labs that we trained and created the sites across in the country. Because if you wanted to prevent and control this infection, when you did not have any other measure and non-pharmacological interventions such as isolation. For isolation, you need to detect that person. We had only one lab in January 2020, that was ICMR NIV. And if I actually narrate the number of tests that the lab had done was close to about 20 per day at the end of January per se, you can imagine we had to suddenly increase the capacity because you wanted to have larger access to people. How could we do it at a time when lockdown started? No, initially we focused more on our own virus research diagnostic labs, which was easier to do because we had labs which were already doing RT-PCRs as VRDL labs. But once the lockdown started, we decided to use the virtual technology to try and ensure that we create large number of centers for testing, ensure their quality. And this was done in a dramatic period of almost about one year and 3 months time. From one lab, we went to 2,500 labs, which were made efficient, established them, and actually could help us during the COVID times. The isolation and loneliness during COVID influenced the exposure to digital technology more. The screen time actually increased by 5 hours in India. And in India, when we think of isolation, what isolates older adults? One of the things which we generally say, it could be hearing impairment, loss of loved ones, lack of exercise, living alone, chronic illness, and COVID-19 restrictions. But in India, we have a new phenomena that is coming. The proud parents of children settled in Western countries, unfortunately, they don't like to establish themselves in the Western countries and stay with their own children. The result is they tend to get isolated as older adults, a phenomena that is being seen evidently everywhere. Just imagine somebody who's an elderly and he's staying with the family, because these days there are two issues. One could be extended nuclear family. Compound families are disappearing largely. You find there is a digitally divided family, which is a usual scene in households today. Even if you sit at the dinner table, you find everybody is engrossed with different technologies. What would the elderly people do? Because if they don't participate in such activities within the household, you will find that one of the advertisements that you currently see, many of you must have seen 99acres.com's advertisement, where when the old man tends to get isolated within the family, though he's staying with the family, he finds a newer strategy, and that is he tries to find a social mate in the so-called Shanti, and that's something which is a strategy which we need to think about, because this is increasingly becoming evident that people need social support through their own peers, one way or the other. And how would we do that? Can we try and reverse the whole thing? One thing which we could do is try and ensure that the digital literacy also improves among elderly. And how can we do that? We could promote digital technologies. Training in the use of gadgets to elderly people for digital skills is a necessity of the hour. No, you can't just foster a concept that elderly will not use this modern technology. Promote innovation in developing digital gadgets so that they become age-friendly largely. Promote social innovations, housing projects for elderly, and also peer-based learning in technology needs also to be promoted in the country. What would happen if we actually do that? You will find this peer-based technology would ensure that their quality of life, their feeling that they are socially connected would improve largely. Can we bridge this gap? Probably yes. The same slide which we had seen earlier. One must remember, even the simulated sky, generally we say sky is not the limit. But if we use technology, develop technology well, one of the persons who's a legend, all of us know, the Stephen Hawking, who had motor neuron disease, who's one of the eminent physicians of his time. No, he has succumbed as of now. But if you actually look at his contribution, all these contributions that he made largely are the ones when he became dependent. And not only did he contribute to physics, he also showed a flair of a different kind. He wanted to see that people, if they go in the space, they should not be worried. So he requested that he would like to go in the space just to show to the people that that can be done. And therefore, he was put into a simulated sky, like what you would say in a flight where there was zero gravity. So essentially, what does this communicate? Even simulated sky was not the limit if we strive together, and we can make a huge difference. If you actually look at our basic principles that we tend to talk about, if you look at Bhagavad Gita tells you one thing: the only certainty in life is death. All those who are born will die, only to be reborn later. If this is the case, together, let's try to create an age-friendly world, maintaining human dignity unto death by working together, be socially inclusive and cohesive. All of us, I'm sure, together will make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Amar? Dr. Amar, please.
ते ना शेअर केलेलं काढावं लागेल
Dr. Amar, please, to take control.
Did I overshoot the time? I don't know.
Doctor, can I ask one query to you?
Yeah.
Very nice speech you delivered. You covered almost all the aspects, right from the medical to engineering, and a lot of information we got. I want to ask that is you also stressed the need of the AI and machine learning while implementing the what we can say the projects or innovation, and we also our students and faculty also take the projects based on AI and ML. Requires huge amount of data and getting the realistic data. For example, during the COVID period, our student tried that is taking the samples of the human voice on the telephone. Can the prediction is possible or not? They were trying that at their level, but we faced the difficulty in getting the data. And you correctly pointed out that the privacy is one of the what we can say the hurdle in that, or the data sets are not made available to the common what we can say the citizens. Okay. Now, in this regard, can you guide us how to get the authentic data for building the model and experimentation?
Sir, please pardon me if I use some wrong words, which may also be incorrect. One of the things that I noticed, we used to call all those people who develop different AI tools and ask them to not demonstrate. For us, demonstration means nothing. How did you teach? One of the most important things which perhaps they need to understand is when you go for machine learning, your first efforts has to be towards quality data, where you should be 100% sure that what you are seeing is a truth which cannot be disputed. Unfortunately, there most of the things tend to fail, and the reason is they do not know who should they approach to, which hospital, data from where. No, so any data, if you feed garbage, what comes out is garbage.
Garbage.
That's something which is very crucial. Now, unfortunately, in India, you will find there are even the medical institutions are not necessarily those who are better equipped to understand research designs. Now, I'll give you an example. Somebody may write that this is pneumonitis, and that is what my diagnosis is. But its implications could be different in study designs if I have not fully investigated a case using gold standard, I cannot use that data to teach the machine in the beginning, right? Now, I also understand that once you teach well, you want larger data to improve the machine's efficiency. But if you have put in garbage, the subsequent data is going to be more of a garbage because you are not going to get the right kind of data fields. This is one of the major issues. Now, what I can suggest, that there are two things which we must remember. That ICMR supports AI activities. If you are trying to develop something and try to go for validation in whichever way they fund, if they find it is appealing after the initial work. Second thing which is important for us to understand is you should always involve somebody who understands research, design, so that these different factors that may emerge later and reduce the sensitivity and specificity of that AI tool is taken care of in the beginning. We know that you will require large number of samples in order, because you need a huge number of data feeds actually improve the sensitivity and specificity. That can only happen if you tend to have a collaborative effort. And fortunately now there are certain collaborative efforts that are being talked of in DBT and ICMR, where a network of hospitals is being developed. One could also try to contact them and ask for support to ensure that you get quality data. Without quality data, AI tools are very difficult to be utilized. I'm sorry.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
I just wanted to add, Dr. Gangakhedkar has deliberated, but I think lot many AI tools were used for COVID. One of the things which was very easy to say do it is there one guy developed AI tool to diagnose COVID on the basis of cough. He had a mobile app, and just you cough in front of it, and then frequencies and all that, because AI can understand not only the noise but the physical parameters of voice. So he was able to give diagnosis of COVID on the basis of cough. I think these are some of the things which we need to understand how AI can be used for everything, for even say technologies for the aging.
Sir, I
nice,
can.
Raman, nice speech. Actually, the whole theme they try to think in terms of what you call it as some shairi. So I'm just reciting one shair for you. Can I?
Yes, sir. Sir, you
looking
don't
at all your life history, I must say, तुम थक कर न बैठ जाना कि तेरी उड़ाना भी बाकी है. तुम थक कर न बैठ जाना कि तेरी उड़ाना भी बाकी है. अभी तो सिर्फ जमीन ना पे आगे पूरा आसमान बाकी है.
Thank you, sir. Sir, on that particular issue which you talked of, the AI tool for cough, we had extensive discussions with that person. The reason why I stressed that study design needs to be very strong. They should not approach any hospital that is close by which is willing to get the data for machine learning. I'll tell you the reason. When I looked at that particular data, he was a Bangalore-based guy and there was one from Hyderabad. Now, you ask them one question. Now, you are going to find out whether he has COVID or not, based on your interpretation of that sound. But the person is holding the mobile. Do you have any specifications? No. Which mobile, how far should it be placed? No, it is going to affect your quality of data. Then we started asking him if it is cough, of different kinds. Have you actually taken the raw data to begin with? Because your diagnosis, if it is not based on gold standard, then at least you will have to have some composite diagnosis that you will use to say which is a proxy of the true diagnosis. Unfortunately, they don't have that data. Now, if that starts happening, we tend to get worried, because at ICMR, we were also given a responsibility to look at development of ethical guidelines for AI tools. Now, one of the major issues is, if there is a failure to diagnose correctly, who is responsible? Whether it is the manufacturer, somebody who ascertains the quality, or somebody who markets the whole thing. So those issues become complicated. Since we have 4 different large players in India who are known to impact the human lives today in the meeting, what I would suggest is, all of us who understand research should try to help them out in designing well for machine learning really well. Over, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. So you have informed to the audience about critical elements, desirables, approaches, hallmarks of biological points of view of successful aging. You also told about the role of assistive digital technologies, digital health, wearable devices, wearable technology, telehealth plays important role for healthy aging, health life expectancy. When we are dealing with digital technologies, we also informed us we should care about privacy, security, confidentiality, code of conduct, standards for quality, ethical issues, and attitude. We informed the role of digital technologies during pandemic situation, also the digital technology impact on health. You also informed us you need to promote the digital technologies for our health. Thank you, sir. As a token of love, we are sharing the mementos. So we appreciate the work of the chief guest as well as theme speaker. I'm sharing which we are going to share send.
Yes, Dr. Amar, if you can share. And there are still some questions in the chat box that we need to take up.
Thank you, sir. We should clap to this. Thank you very much, sir. I'm sharing the memento of chief guest. This is for Honorable Dr. Hemant Thakare, sir, President IEEE. Thank you, sir. So the floor is open for questions. We have questions, so I'm reading it. Vinith, have you made the mutable to all?
Please unmute the audience so
Please
that
unmute
questions
to
can be
all.
asked.
Dr. Bhandarkar, sir, can you ask the question? Okay. Here also mentioned at chat window.
Yeah.
I'm
Let me
reading
read.
it out for the Bhandarkar, sir.
Yeah.
Today, we as a country are taking pride in being the largest young population with technical knowledge. By 2050, this population would be aging and the scenario will be entirely different. Today's assets may be liability for tomorrow. Are you prepared for this? Could you kindly share your vision on this, please? Thank you. Anybody, chief guest as well as theme speaker? Thank you.
Can Gangakhedkar sir say on this? That's our request.
No, there are certain things which are not avoidable. We know population of 60 plus, as we call it in India, elsewhere they say 65 plus. The elderlies are going to increase. Now, we need to be cognizant of that fact and try to raise our level of mitigating the adverse impact that it can produce on the society. We should not say that we cannot do anything for these people. Essentially, as I showed one slide, if you look at disability and how we targeted digital technologies, and the best example was Stephen Hawking. Somebody who could even shine when his muscles were becoming weak and weak because of motor neuron disease. He not only was productive in those years, his contributions were immense. If we can do that bit for people with disability, the issue is not going to be far different for those who are elderly. I think we should not think about it negatively, but make our best efforts to try and improve the quality of life of these people.
Sir, can I add?
I just want to add,
yes, sir.
Kurjekar sir, I think we need to look at it with a positive side. All those people who are going to age in 2050 would be already exposed to digital technologies. And by that time, there might be a lot many advances in AI and machine learning. And I think that is going to affect as an increased facility for digital technology for aging. Because at the end, the most persons who work hard are the sufferers. Suppose you are aged and you are suffering and your digital technology, I think you will come with the new brain waves, and that would be, say, useful for overall improving healthcare of aged. So I think I want to look at it as a positive side, that is going to have a positive impact on improving healthcare in aged. Thank you.
And I would add one thing, perhaps people have forgotten. By 2050, it is expected that we would be able to reduce the speed of aging to a tune from biological standpoint of view, that it would be a bigger kind of a surprise for all of us in the meeting. Please let us try and see how we can reduce those 10 years of healthy span that are lost in India and make a difference.
Sir, there is a question which I have raised in the chat box.
I am Kishore
Shende. I can speak. I can ask you.
I can read it out for you, sir.
Yes, sir. You can read, or I can also ask. Anything.
Yes, you can ask, sir. It will be better. Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir, the question is, with this large population, how we managed with this COVID-19 attack? Is it a vaccination or immunity amongst Indian which has helped? And it should be controlled in future if anything is like this. Has it been introduced in a disaster management like thing?
Yes, I take pride in the fact that our National Disaster Management Agency is one of the strongest things that one could witness. It is true that not everybody understands the way they function. I have been part of those committees where issue that was discussed was, if for next 6 months the sunlight does not come because of climate change, how do we mitigate that the impact that it would have? Very hypothetical situations. So don't think pandemic is not a part of it. The issue is pandemic preparedness will be enhanced in the country pretty soon. Unfortunately, we were on to it once we understood Nipah, how we fought Zika, how we fought. We were forming a 10-country alliance to be effective, but COVID, reduced that speed dramatically. Now, when you say if we had a large population, compared to other countries, why are we doing well? One of the things is there are multiple factors that we have to remember. We are doing well because you have a population which was different. In India, we had infection first, and then vaccination took its own pace. Whereas you compare that with the developed countries, it had vaccine first and then infection came. Why does this become important? Because vaccines were essentially targeting only against mRNA. mRNA vaccines were being used, going for the spike proteins to be injected within and the immune response coming. Second thing, which is important for us to understand, we were fortunate that we had Omicron BA.2, which emerged quickly and infected more than 90% of the population in that short period of time. It had milder kind of outcomes compared to the other variants that had occurred before. And one of the issues that we need to remember that if you look at the age pyramid in India compared to the developed countries still has younger population that is largely seen. Like we tend to say, what now I'm losing a track a bit. The population dividend that we have more of younger population, whereas rest of the world has more of elderly population. So the impact was seen little more. Now, is this impact, has it got something to do with immunity, pre-existent immunity? We still don't have any evidence that we can talk about and say why we could have had been protected. And I don't think we were protected the way it appears, because the morbidity as well as mortality was fairly significant even in India. Next thing which we have to understand is when it comes to our people largely accepted the lockdown or restrictions that were put in, contrary to our perception. If you actually look at what is called a stringency index, India stands at a very high level, even when we were passing through Delta wave. We continued to be among the top countries. Whereas freedom-related issues are more common in the Western developed world. People do not accept so easily that they would like to follow the restrictions that have been put, because they say this is my personal freedom, which is also reflected into vaccination drive. You find that 25% of people, this is just an approximate number, about 25% of people in developed world are called as anti-vax. They not only did not take COVID vaccine, but they do not even think of taking other vaccines. So all these things together played an important role. And finally, we had a milder infection which has sealed the issue well. And we have what is called as hybrid immunity, where vaccine coverage rates are high. We are close to about 90%, or we have overshot 90% now for people above people who are vulnerable in the country, 18 plus population. And if you look at the Omicron has given protection by natural infection to almost all in the population. The result is this hybrid immunity is protecting us from worse outcomes. Over.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So I have a small question. Kruzekar here. You are saying about the aged persons or the people beyond 60 in India, but the government drive is also for the persons between age 12 to 18 and then 18 to 25 and all those things. How do you see this impact on protecting from the COVID-like situation in the next future? Because we are talking about 2050, but I'm talking of only 2030.
That is very simple answer which I can provide. There is a AI tool which is being developed and being used in South Africa, where what they are trying to do is predict the variants that can come up, where the mutations are more likely to occur and what kind of variant will come. Now, using these predictions, there are at least 8 different vaccine platforms which are trying to develop a dream vaccine, which is called as pan-corona vaccine. Now, this vaccine, because you have to look at the epitopes, no? Once you look at the mutations, then what you need to look at is try and find out the epitopes that can be used to develop vaccine. And there they are trying to focus one, which would be a pan-corona vaccine that works against not only COVID or SARS-CoV-2 like viruses, but also the SARS virus, MERS virus, or any other coronavirus that may come. Now, optimistically, if I was to say, when should you expect pan-coronavirus vaccine, which will ensure that no coronavirus can infect a human being? Perhaps, it may come as early as 2 years from now, or it may take a little bit of longer if I'm a pessimistic individual. But vaccination, the success of vaccination has ensured that research goes at a dramatic pace to provide a corona virus vaccine, which would be against all the strains, and hopefully that will ensure the end of coronaviruses affecting humans. Over.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Question is, thank you, sir. Next question by Dr.
Sir,
Abhay
sir,
Kulkarni.
just a minute, sir. It's 8 o'clock and there are few guests who want to leave. Can we propose a vote of thank and then take up a further question?
Okay, sir. But Mundra sir, my request is take one snap.
Yeah, it is taken at the beginning only.
Some people were not there. If possible, we can take one more.
Amar sir, you can
Hi.
take.
Please switch on the cameras. Let us have one snap.
Okay.
All the panelists, participants, you can make video on. Vinit, can you please make the snapshot?
We have to keep smiling face. Yes, I think it's done, Vinit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Done.
Done?
Done.
Done, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So because we said by 8 o'clock the program will end, we take up a vote of thank, and then if Dr. Gangakhedkar sir permits, we will have some questions more.
Okay, so we are reaching up to the end of program. We are very thankful to chief guest Dr. Hemant Thakare sir and theme speaker Honorable Padma Shri Dr. Raman Gangakhedkar for giving valuable time with us. We are very thankful to all the dignitaries of 4 professional bodies, IEI, IEEE, IETE, and IET. We are very thankful to office bearers, IEI, PLC, Chairman Dr. Sanjay Zope sir, Secretary Mr. Vipin Munot, then IEEE Pune Section Chair Mr. Girish Khilari, Secretary Dr. Neha Sharma Madam, then IET Pune Chapter Chairman Dr. Ravindra Karadkar sir, then Secretary Dr. Virendra Shetty sir, IET Pune Local Network Chairman Dr. Anil Hiwai sir, then Secretary Dr. Deepak Shirsagar sir, then Dr. DJ Balke sir, Dr. Amit Khade sir, Professor Mandar Kurjekar sir, Dr. P.B. Manis sir, Chair IEEE Communication Society Pune Chapter, then Dr. Rajasri Jain sir, Jain Madam, Secretary IEEE India Council, then Mr. Dwara sir, Industrialist Professor Kishore Shinde sir, then Dr. Aradhana Deshmukh Madam, then all the participants who are listening to this speech, Then finally, we are very, very thankful to convener Dr. Girish Mundada sir, without which this event and event coordination is not possible. Thank you all. Thank you all the participants.
You forgot me.
I'm very thankful to hello sir.
Thank you, Jamkar sir. He is in California.
I have
12
been
hours behind. Thank you, sir. Because of
Thank
you, we could
you,
get,
Zamkar sir. Thank you.
sir. Because of him, we could get Gangakhedkar, so important person with us. Thanks him.
Yes.
Thank you.
I had to
We are very
thank
thankful to the persons who directly and indirectly support.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mundada
sir.
sir.
Thank you so much, sir. We have some questions, if one or two questions, if we can take up. Yeah, Dr. Kulkarni had some question. And we are immensely thankful to Dr. Jamkar sir, because of whom we could get Padma Shri Dr. Raman Gangakhedkar sir. It has increased our value, sir. So a big thank you. Beyond words and beyond anything else can be expressed. Over to Dr. Kulkarni sir.
जामकर सर आमचे सिनियर होते ते आमचे त्या काळचे आयडॉल होते. ही यूज टू बी फर्स्ट ऑल द टाइम इन एव्हरी एक्झामिनेशन अँड वॉज अ बिग मॅन इन माय कॉलेज.
थँक्यू रमण. आता मी फक्त पहिल्यांदा आज माझ्या लक्षात आलं की माझ्या ओळखीमुळं तू एकदम या मोठ्या you are exposed to one of the biggest galaxy of intellectuals. My aim is to work as the intermediary between technocrats and health professionals to find out how technology can be used for a better healthcare. कारण हा मधला जे आहेत ना ते फार लोक कमी आहेत ज्यांना दोन्ही साईडचं कळतं.